You're about to drop into the valley of despair. It's the best thing that could happen. This is where the comparison virus dies, because the work becomes too interesting to ignore. You're realizing your lost years were actually an investment in your root system. Let's look at why you haven't actually wasted a single second. This is a space to sit with the truth in silence. Lean back and breathe. We're rewriting the timeline you've been forced to follow. This anxiety is just the peak of the Dunning-Kruger curve. You think you know what success looks like, so you're devastated you don't have it. You're overestimating timing and underestimating foundation. You're so worried about being behind that you aren't noticing you're moving in the wrong direction just to keep up. You're speeding toward a destination you don't even like. The solution starts with timeline destruction. Throw that map society gave you in the trash. Stop looking at the average and start looking at the actual. The most interesting people didn't have their lives figured out at 25 or even 35. They were too busy gathering the data they needed to build something real. Your lag is actually just preparation. The problem is measuring your internal reality against someone else's external highlight reel. You're comparing your unedited footage to their color-graded final export. You assume their success means they have it all figured out, while you're stuck in the lobby. This timeline anxiety makes it impossible to focus on the work in front of you. You're running a race against a ghost. Society installed a standard map in your brain. Graduate at 22, settle by 30, succeed by 40. If you fall off, the system wants you to feel like a glitch. This pressure keeps you compliant and predictable, not happy. You're a victim of an algorithm of expectations you didn't even write. It's a trap, and you're walking into it with your eyes wide open. And try zero. You're scrolling through a feed and see a 19-year-old with a house or a friend with a senior title. Suddenly, your coffee tastes like failure. You've hit the peak of Mount Stupid, convinced life is a standardized test with a strict time limit. You think missing certain boxes by a certain age means you've failed? It's a loud, frantic feeling that rots your peace. Behind is a relative term that requires a fixed finish line. But in a life that belongs to you, there is no finish line. There is only the process. If you aren't running someone else's race, you literally cannot be behind. It's simple logic, but the hardest thing for a frantic mind to accept. You're trying to solve a problem that is purely imaginary. Chapter 1. You look back at the last 3 years and see nothing. You think about the degree you didn't finish or the business that flopped. You call this wasted time. You feel like those pages were ripped out of your book. You're mourning a version of yourself that should have been further along. This grief is weighing you down. In data science, there is no failed experiment. There is only data. Those wasted years taught you exactly what you don't want and what you won't tolerate. That is high-value information most successful people don't get until it's too late. You've been gathering latent potential while others gathered shallow wins. You are deeper than them. The problem is your life accounting. You think if an action doesn't lead to a win, it has zero value. This is the efficiency trap. You're treating your life like a factory where every hour must produce output. But you aren't a factory. You're a biological system that needs error to evolve. Your mistakes weren't bugs, they were features of your development. The solution is data integration. Archive those failed experiences as resources. You aren't starting from scratch, you're starting from experience. Every wrong turn was a necessary step in the search logic of your life. Once you accept this, the weight of being behind lifts, because you realize you're exactly where your data led you. The valley is born, and the lost years are finally making sense. You aren't a late bloomer, you're a deep rooter. You're moving toward the slope of enlightenment, where previous failures become assets. You're realizing the shortcut others took led to a dead end. Let's talk about your own internal clock. Think of a seed underground. For months it looks like nothing is happening. There is no fruit or progress visible. Is the seed behind? No. It's building a root system to support the growth that's coming. If it grew leaves before roots, the wind would knock it over. You've been growing roots, and roots take time to anchor. You're stuck in the regret loop. You spend more energy thinking about what you could have done in 2023 than on what you can do today. This regret is a leak in your energy system. It keeps you anchored in the past, making you too heavy for the future. You're paying for your past with your future, and that's a terrible deal. Chapter 2. You're trying to run your life on system time, the clock that runs schools and social media trends. But your brain and soul run on biological time. These two clocks are almost never in sync. When you force internal growth to match an external schedule, you create friction. This friction is what you call burnout. Most people fear stillness because they think it equals stagnation. They think if they aren't hustling, they're losing. This is a misunderstanding of compounding. True progress isn't a straight line, it's an exponential curve. The first 90% of the curve looks flat and boring. It looks like nothing is happening, but the energy is building.
The problem is temporal envy. You want success to arrive at the same time as everyone else's, regardless of your personal processing speed. You're like a 4K render engine trying to export as fast as a 720p file. It takes longer because the quality is higher. You're frustrated with the render time without realizing the final product is a masterpiece.
The solution is sovereign scheduling. Stop asking the world when you should be successful and start asking your own logic. Are you building skills? Are you refining systems? Are you managing inputs? If the answer is yes, then the clock is irrelevant. You are the owner of the time, and the time is serving you. You're currently in the flat part of your curve. This is the temporal plateau, where you must trust the math of your effort. If you're doing the work, the result is inevitable. It's just a matter of latency. You're waiting for the signal to travel from your effort to your reality. It's not late, it's just in transit.
You're ignoring your own seasons. Just like nature, your life has periods of winter, internal and quiet, and summer, visible and productive. You're trying to force a harvest in the middle of winter. This out-of-sync effort wastes your limited willpower. You're fighting the climate of your life instead of building a greenhouse for your goals.
Chapter 3. You feel behind because your inbox is overflowing with unorganized ideas and half-finished tasks. Your mental workspace is a mess, creating cognitive drag. You feel like you're running through waist-deep water while everyone else is on a paved road. This isn't a life problem. It's an architecture problem. You're a builder without a blueprint. By organizing your temporal space, you realize you actually have plenty of time. You weren't behind. You were just cluttered. When the clutter is gone, the path is clear. You can move with the quiet efficiency of a master. You're no longer reacting to the world. You're deploying into it with purpose. The problem is structural chaos. You're trying to manage your entire existence in your working memory. Your brain is currently a bottleneck. Because you don't have a system to hold details, your brain is constantly swapping info. This burns through your dopamine budget before you even start the deep work. You feel behind because you are overloaded. The solution is the para method. Categorize your reality into projects, areas, resources, and archives. This creates a buffer between you and the chaos. When a new idea comes in, it doesn't hit your brain, it hits your inbox. You process it once, put it in its place, and forget it until it's time to work. This is where the slope of enlightenment begins. You don't need to be faster, you just need to be cleaner. You need a life OS that handles low-value noise, so you can focus on high-value signals. If you don't have a system, you are the system. And you're a very expensive and inefficient one to run.
You're in your digital fortress now. Your focus is sharp, and the timeline anxiety is a distant memory. You've moved from survival to sovereignty. But even in a fortress, you'll see social mirrors reflecting a different story. Let's talk about how to handle the people still in the valley.
You're looking for a motivation fix when you need an organization fix. You think if you just wanted it more, you'd be further ahead.
Motivation is a spark. Architecture is the furnace.
You're trying to keep a fire going with a magnifying glass while the wind is blowing. You need to build walls first. You need a place for thoughts to live. Chapter 4. You go to a family dinner and the questions start. What are you up to now? Are you still doing that video stuff? You feel a cold pit in your stomach. You feel you have to justify your existence to people who haven't updated their software in 20 years. These social mirrors are showing you a version of yourself that is lagging. Most people use their peer group as a performance metric. But if your group is focused on consumption, their metric is a trap. You're trying to win a legacy game using a lifestyle scoreboard. You're feeling behind in a game you aren't even playing. It's like being upset you're losing a football match when you're playing chess. The status quo is a gilded cage. Your friends with stable jobs might be ahead in the linear game, but they might be stuck in the exponential game. They've traded volatility for security. You've kept your volatility, which means you've kept your upside. You aren't behind. You're uncapped. The problem is external validation. You're letting people happy in the valley judge your progress on the slope. They don't understand your arc because they aren't on one. They see stability as the only goal, so your experimentation looks like instability. You're trying to explain color grading to someone who sees in black and white. It's a waste. The problem is external validation. You're letting people happy in the valley judge your progress on the slope. They don't understand your arc because they aren't on one. They see stability as the only goal, so your experimentation looks like instability. You're trying to explain color grading to someone who sees in black and white. It's a waste. The solution is social filtering. Stop looking for permission from the valley. You need an inner circle of people who understand the Dunning-Kruger curve. Find the people on the slope of enlightenment, the ones obsessed with systems rather than status. Their mirror will show the truth. You're right on track. You're experiencing social friction. This is a sign you are ascending. If everyone agreed with your choices, it would mean you aren't doing anything new. You're feeling the status quo, trying to drag you back to average. They want you to be normal, because your sovereignty makes their compliance look like a choice they missed.
You've stopped explaining yourself. The social mirror has lost its power because you found your own sovereign view. You're moving with a brutal calm because you know what's coming. Your late start was actually a strategic delay. Let's talk about your pivot power.
Chapter 5.
You think you're too late to start over? You're 25, 30, or 40, and you want to learn a new craft or business model. You look at the kids who started at 15 and feel like a fossil. You assume their head start means you can never catch up. This age wall is the final defense of the mediocre mind. It's a lie to make you give up. The age wall has crumbled. Time is a vessel, and you can fill it with whatever you want. You're moving toward the plateau of sustainability, where timing disappears and only mastery remains. Let's look at the sovereign finish of the journey. The new kids have technical speed, but you have strategic depth. They push buttons faster, but you know why the buttons should be pushed. You are moving from tactical to architectural. In a world of high-paced noise, the person who can synthesize multiple fields is the one who wins. You're not late. You're apostrofo multi tretino demenseonll punto apostrofo. The problem is linear thinking. You assume a 10-year head start equals a 10-year advantage. But in skill stacking, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, it equals 10. Your previous life is a multiplier. A 30-year-old learning to edit has a contextual advantage over a teen. You understand psychology and discipline in a way they can't grasp yet. Your pivot is fueled by experience. The solution is to stack the old on the new. Don't throw away your past. Archive it as a foundation. You are a video editor who is a student who is a system architect. This unique combination is your moat. It makes you unreplaceable. You aren't behind the 15-year-old. You're above them on the scale of value. Think about learning Swahili. A teenager might pick up negation rules faster, but you understand the logic of grammar. You know how to hack the learning process because you've learned how to learn. Your maturity is a shortcut they haven't discovered yet. You are an efficient learner in a slow world. You're ignoring your synthesis advantage. Every wrong path is a resource you can stack onto your new craft. If you studied accounting and now do creative work, you are a creative who understands the math. That makes you a unicorn in a field of donkeys. You aren't starting over. You're upgrading to a higher level of complexity. You're still here, and for the first time, you aren't checking your watch. Most closed this video long ago because they were too busy chasing a life they don't even want. But you stayed. You've accepted the truth. You aren't failing. You're just rendering something far more complex than a standard life. I've given you the architecture. Now just enjoy the craft. Be exactly where you are.